So how are you enjoying the cruise so far?
I'm having the best time of my life. This sure is a great idea to have our date here.
I'm surprised you could afford the tickets to get us here.
Well, you've been working hard lately, and I want to give you some time to rest. As for the tickets, a certain blue alter ego of mine told me she signed a contract for 2 tickets on a discount, paying it with all of my saving money.
I guess I do deserve the break after the past few weeks, and I couldn't imagine it any better than this. We are here together, having a great date, and it looks like everyone on board is also happy.
You know who isn't happy? Me!
Maybe I judged the situation a little too soon. You know, there are episodes that I like after watching, there are episodes I don't like after watching, there are even episodes that confuses me initially, but after some thinking I actually can make my mind. But there are some cases where I love and hate it at the same time. Once Upon a Zeppelin is such case. It has a lot of elements I love in this, but also there are things that peeves me really bad. Now tell me, how am I supposed to judge the episode like this?
Well, the best place to start is always the beginning, which is Twilight being Twilight for working on her princess duties, even to the point choosing work over vacation with her family. Geez, does this remind you of a certain alicorn in the community? But Spike is having none of them and convinced Twilight to get out of the castle.
But Spike, you're as much a part of my family as any pony. I can't just leave you here to do all that work.
What? I can't hear you! You're on vacation!
This is the side of Spike I like to see. The caring dragon that's looking out for Princess of Friendship's well-being, even before she earned her wings. However, Twilight does bring up a good point of leaving Spike behind for a family cruise without him being included.
Not that hard to believe, honestly. Twilight has spent all of her time with Spike, yet rarely with her other family member, especially her parent. So Spike sees this as a chance to rekindle their bond with one another, since Twilight was too busy to be with her family. It's tough for everyone in a big family who are living their own lives gathered together for a visit, let alone vacation with one another after all.
You sound like you're speaking from experience.
Well, I did grow up in a big family with 3 uncles and 3 aunts, with 5 of them having at least 1 kid, and that's only on my dad's side of the family tree.
Good point. But this scene also highlights a meaningful aspect of Twilight viewing Spike as an important part of her family as the others. That line alone speaks volume about the relationship, and it's really sweet. Even if it was quite obvious given she pretty much raised him, and maybe shushed the mouth of those who see Spike as Twilight's slave. But I digress. Back to the topic, but keeping the theme, we finally got to see some actual character development for Twilight's parents. Jeez, took it only 7 seasons, 3 short shots of them, and short speaking line to reach that moment, to tell us that mom is a thrill seeker and dad really likes numbers. That actually explains some things about their kid's character. Still, better late than never to learn about them, their quirks as well as character in general. Seems like this season earned its hat trick on parental development.
I couldn't agree more with you. First we get to meet RD's parents, then AJ's parents, which still are the cutest couple of the entire show, and now development for Twilight's. All we need now is development for Rarity's parents, and we're set. And speaking of Twilight's family, I like how they are concerned for her missing out on spending some family time together, thanks to all the princess duties placed on her. Now, who was responsible for setting up the princess activities again?
Excuse me, sir.
You can call Iron Will, Iron Will.
Oh right, him. Ugh, I never liked that guy ever since I first saw him in Putting Your Hoof Down. He reminds me of the nagging feeling at the back of the mind to stand up for themselves. That wouldn't be a problem if that nagging voice was not stuck in a bully's victim's mind, which is literally what happened to Fluttershy in that same episode, and it made her be seen as a bully herself, all thanks to that stupid Minotaur's teaching!
Better?
Better, thanks. Just thinking about it triggered some bad memories.
like for many. Personally, however, I never viewed Iron Will as an antagonist, such as Trixie, Gilda, or even Flim Flam Brothers. He simply didn't feel like he had a malicious intent to take advantage of Fluttershy or any pony. Rather, he saw an opportunity of big income from her. But back in Putting Your Hoof Down, his goal was actually to teach ponies to be more assertive. And the fact it wasn't assertiveness but aggression? Well, it's probably the same if you will get the lesson of proper manners for dragons or take Griffon as a role model of generosity. Looking at the example of other races, we can assume that this is how Minotaurs view assertiveness. But he was a bit clueless, not realizing his definition and pony definition of it's not the same. At least that's how I viewed him before. This time, however, he is full-on antagonist, whose only intention is to take full advantage of every pony on board by scamming them. Not only that, he blackmailed Twilight by guilt-tripping, and I bet his documents were full of illegal paragraphs.
Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me since Ironwill did get an entire cruise ship without any suspicions. But then again, Canterlot is used to seeing other races so long as they are of a higher class or with a job offer that fits into their high class desires. Yet the title The Cruise of the Princesses is only focusing on 2 of the princesses, 3 if you count Flurry Heart. Then again, Celestia and Luna rule over Canterlot, so those ponies wouldn't mind if they couldn't show up for the cruise. While the other princesses lived at different parts of Equestria, and the Canterlot ponies would barely be able to see them. Plus, Ironwill could get a big burn from the Sun and Moon Princess if he even dared try to blackmail Celestia and Luna to be his cruise attractions. Now that's something I wish to see happen as his punishment.
Unfortunately, he got away this time, which is sad given how much he was exploiting Twilight, who didn't want to upset all the cruise passengers, as well as wished for some good time for her family. This is what really ticks me off. Not even a moment he thought about how she would feel, nor the ponies. He was pretending, but in the end all he saw was his profit. He and Twilight had an agreement, and even this he didn't keep, as she had no time to spend with her family or even to see those northern stars. In the end, I have absolutely no sympathy towards Ironwill after this episode, while also feeling sorry for Twilight and understand her outburst. She came there to relax and spend quality time with her family, not to be Ironwill's slave. Now if you excuse me, I have a wanted poster to print. Carry on.
Note to self, give boyfriend plenty of snuggles and kisses to de-stress him. Anyway, after Twilight's outburst, she decided to have some alone time to cool down. I don't blame her since she was having a very stressful cruise, something that's the complete opposite of what she was supposed to get. After that, Cadence decided to give Twilight a helpful advice for a change.
Well, sometimes ponies want more from a princess than you can give, and it can be hard to know where to draw the line. You seem to know pretty well. Once I had Flurry Heart, the line was easier for me to see. You will always have obligations as a princess, but you also have an obligation to yourself.
Now that's something everyone can relate with. We always have that one responsibility where we would go beyond our limits just to make sure others are satisfied. However, there are times where we don't know when to say enough, especially for those that hate to disappoint anyone. Also, out of the 3 princesses, Cadence is the best to present this moral. She's not only the princess of the Crystal Empire, but she's also a mother. Having 2 responsibilities is tough for her, unlike the other princesses that only have 1. I have a feeling that she had set some boundaries where she would not only take a break from being a princess, but also to be with Flurry Heart as a mother figure.
There we go, the poster should be ready to print once we get off the cruise. I'm just having a hard time thinking of a reward for catching Ironwill.
Speaking of rewards, let's talk about Star Tracker.
Who?
Star Tracker, the pony who won the prize of being an honorary family member for the day.
Oh, him. Yeah, that's another thing which annoys me in this episode. This guy quickly started to throw me away of him, and I'm with Twilight on this before she apologized. Okay, he wasn't obnoxious with his behavior, just awkward, and I get that people can act like this when meeting their idols face to face, but it doesn't change the fact that he was straight up creep. Seriously, one moment he is with Twilight's dad and another is right behind her whispering to her ear? Sorry, but we're going pretty deep into her personal space territory. That's why Twilight had right to shout at him, in my opinion. However, he was creep at times, but because he wasn't obnoxious and he was another victim of Ironwill's scam, I don't hate him. It's not quite the dislike for him, it's more of a dislike to how he was behaving.
At least he tried making up for it by leaving Twilight to spend some family time together, which is something she desperately wants on the cruise. He even tried to stand up against Iron Will, but the Minotaur is too intimidating for him to handle. I don't blame Star Trekker really, since Iron Will had only shouted for announcements and unexpected events, but never enraged throughout the entire cruise. But other than Star Trekker being understanding, the other cruise ponies are just as understanding after Twilight had set the boundaries of being alone with her family for the rest of the cruise. And I especially like that one pony who pointed out one important fact.
But why was this trip advertised as a cruise of the princesses if you just wanted to get away?
Ooh, they found the loophole in Iron Will's cruise. All the cruise ponies follow her word as Twilight gets to spend the last stretch of the cruise with her family as a normal pony like everyone else instead as a VIP for others' entertainment.
This is something that saves Star Trekker as well as the rest of the passengers from me disliking them. Unlike in Fame and Misfortune, this time ponies easily understand that Twilight came here to spend some time with her family and rather quickly put two to two together, seeing they've all been tricked by Iron Will. They didn't come here just to see princesses, they all thought this cruise is dedicated to that, and both Twilight and Cadence came for that reason, not to rest. So as much as their behavior was annoying to me, I also get it that they were as excited to see princesses in person as they were promised. Kinda like during cons, where fans can meet their favorite voice actors or content creators, only more legal and not involving scam on both sides. I can understand why the passengers could get tricked so easily, but I can't get why Twilight parents could be that naive.
If I'm in the parents' hooves, I'd say it's because they miss spending time with their children. I mean, their eldest not only captain of the royal guard, but also a dad to their granddaughter. Also, their youngest is a princess and is too busy with her duties to even stop by and say hi. I have a feeling that when they heard of a free vacation where the entire family is invited, all they could think about is seeing their children again. I'm sure every parent feels this way seeing their children grow up and ready to take on the world themselves without their guidance.
I can see that, but it still doesn't explain them being so naive. I mean, I know from examples of my country that thieves have no scruples and actually are ready to play on the emotions you've mentioned, only to take advantage of it. There is even a common type of scam. The thief is calling to elder people, pretends to be their grandchild and say that he had a car accident and needs quite a lot of money, even thousands of bucks, for which he'll send a friend to collect it. And sadly, elders fall for that, and the moment they gave the money, they can kiss it goodbye. Probably this is why this scene rubs me in the wrong way, because Twilight's parents doesn't seem to be that old. The free cruise alone should set a warning lights in their heads that they should actually check the contract, or even better, not sign it at all. It's pretty much the equivalent of them clicking every pop-up saying you've won they see when browsing the internet. People know it's a scam or even a virus, so it's a common sense not to do that.
When you put it that way, now I can see why this is a big problem for you. But does it affect your enjoyment of the episode?
Yeah, about that. It was annoying. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel when watching it, at least for the most part. The way the ponies were acting, Iron Will taking advantage of Twilight and how naive her parents were, broke some of my enjoyment for this episode. Okay, we can explain the passengers, but the Minotaur and parents are something that still rubs me in the wrong way. Especially him, having no scruples in exploiting Twilight's kind heart. And there is also that one villain in Caden's mask. That one is gonna haunt me for days. But despite my thoughts about it, the episode itself is actually pretty good for the important message it carries about setting the boundaries and knowing your own limits and when it's time to think about your own good. And with that goes another good part. Cadence actually having an important role as the one who provided those words of wisdom. So that's actual double props. And as much as the passengers' behavior was annoying to me, they did actually make up for it by understanding Twilight's perspective and giving her a space she needs. Last thing that makes this episode good is also the development for pretty much the whole family and new things we learn about them, like Shining Armor having air sickness, Mom being a thrill seeker, and Dad liking numbers. So as much as this may not be my favorite episode, it's fair to say it's still good, maybe even slightly meta.
I can agree with you about the negativities this episode presents, since they do annoy me. Not as badly impacted as you, but it's still there. Even though Star Striker is seen as one of those cringy fans for most of the episode, he's also representing the understanding fans for giving Twilight the space to be with her family. True, he should have given her the space sooner, judging by her discomfort, but with him being blinded by his fanboy side, it's no wonder his judgment isn't the best. Speaking of Twilight, even though she isn't in my top 3 best ponies, and her lack of proper development in the past few episodes, it's nice to see that she still needs to learn how to prioritize herself just as much as everyone around her. So yeah, I still like this episode, but wouldn't actually call it a top 5 of this season.
Same for me. It's a good episode for what it's trying to do, but some of the ways of how it is doing prevents me to call it one of the best. But what are your thoughts? Maybe you like this episode, or maybe you don't. Let us know in the comments. I'm Sharpwit.
And I'm Violet Bloom saying, stay blossom every pony.
Dang it, even you have your own catchphrase.
That has been my catchphrase even before we started dating.
I see. You look very beautiful under the stars.
Really? Wait. Uh-oh, I know that face.
Well, we are on a cruise for our date right now, and the night sky is very romantic and clear. Plus, we haven't had a kiss throughout the entire date. Oh, am I making you turn red again?
Maybe.
Now, this is a great way to end my date with you.
And now we're even.
Oh, Celestia, I love that bear.